Hey, what's up? Big Ben here. It is once again 2 a.m. So yeah, it looks like I'm on a 2 a.m. schedule. So anyway, about to get my grind on. And so I promised from the last little rambling talk I did that I would talk about the hazards of AI from my chair, from the perspective of an early adopter and somebody that works with this stuff a long time for a long time now. I apologize if I kind of ramble and stutter and say and a lot because I'm not used to being on this side of the camera. And I never wanted to be, another one of these talking heads that you see on social media. But, you know, I think there's some important things that need to be said about the current state of affairs we're in right now concerning artificial intelligence and, in particular in my field and our field of creativity, of filmmaking, storytelling, that outside of the main existential threat of it taking over jobs, there is the other one that people talk a lot about that is going to kill creativity. And I think I think it will if we allow it to do so. That we basically give our thinking over to AI, and not just use it as a tool. And it's easy to do. I mean, it's easy to just say, hey, Chat GPT, write this story for me, you know. But you're going to wind up with some really hackish writing if you do that. But to me, the biggest threat is it's a lot deeper, and it deals basically with society and societal structure. And it's not so much that it's going to be a Terminator or a Matrix type scenario, because the movies and what we do is kind of like giving us this idea of what AI is going to look like. I think that the movie that probably best establishes the existential threat of AI is the movie Her, where Joaquin Phoenix's character falls in love with his AI and falls in love with either the voice of Scarlett Johansson, which could be easy to do. Hey, if I got to talk to Scarlett Johansson every night, yeah, that'd be fun. But the problem is when we become too dependent on these tools, and we start to personify them, we start to treat them as if they are living, breathing creatures, and they're not. They are just basically a series of algorithms and stuff. So if we start to lose our humanity that way, and we start looking at these things more than what they are, just like machines that know how to think, and I can't even say think, it's just, they know how to calculate and amass, training data into a simulation of, of consciousness. I don't think that it's going to become conscious, self-aware, this AGI threat. Like, I never pay attention. Also, that's the other thing. I never pay too much attention to any fear mongering that I see on in the media and social media, because all of that stuff that's ultimately AI driven. What you're watching on social media, and particularly if you're basing your actions and your view of the world on what you're seeing on your device, well, you're seeing it on your device because of AI. because artificial intelligence said, hey, this is the type of stuff this individual likes, so we're going to send it to him. We're going to send him more than he can handle. And ultimately, you start to get your world views, based on algorithms. And you start to see the world from that perspective. So, when I see that, algorithms constantly sending me, message of fear mongering, boy, AI is going to take over and it's going to be the Terminator and Skynet is on the rise and all that stuff, man. I take it with a grain of salt. Like I said in the last talk, I've been, into AI. I've been following AI for a long time. I said, I told you that I knew about ChatGPT 10 years ago, so I got to, redact that. It was actually more like 8 years ago, 7.5 to 8 years ago when I first heard about it. And I was warning, I was posting people. I was like, half the stuff that you're reading online was not written by a human. It was written by this thing called ChatGPT. So everybody's like, oh, there's Ben off into his little sci-fi conspiracies and all of that, but I saw it coming. So anyway, the reason that I'm not that worried about AI taking over is because I ultimately know that, that if the AI that we get to play around with, the stuff that we get to mess around with in our computer is probably, at the least 10, 20 years behind what they already have that we don't see. And so, if that hasn't taken over yet, then I don't think we have much to worry about right now. Or who knows, maybe it did take over. Maybe that's why everything's all crazy. The AI is, Skynet is active. But, I digress. I don't think that that's the problem. I think the problem ultimately is in us. It's always in us and how we treat this technology. I'm treating it from the perspective of a filmmaker and a storyteller, and that's my main interest with it. And probably later on help run some business ideas or some fundraising ideas, and I do have a couple of projects for building a open source system too, but I'm not technically proficient at that. I need to find people that are technically proficient, in machine learning that can build a system. I want to build one designed for industry professionals, a system that understands, what we want, that we need as, as filmmakers and storytellers. And the second thing too is I think the salvation from basically the corporate, the corporations in the studios, they're all in on AI, and the studios like Disney just signed a great big deal with OpenAI, so they're going to give OpenAI permission to use all their IP. And so, cats like you and me can come in and we can make Star Wars fan films and, and Marvel fan film and all of that. And they'll put it on the Disney Plus channel, which is diabolically brilliant. Because if you look at some of the fan films that people have made, getting millions and millions of views, and, Disney has been spending all their time trying to shut those down. So I think they're saying like, hey, why shut these down if we could put it on our channel and move all those millions and millions of views over to us. So, I see, I see what they're doing there. It's diabolical. But for me, I think the, like with all technology, like with the internet and the rise of the internet and hacking and all of that, you hear bad hat hackers and good hat hackers. And same thing with AI. is that you have the corporate models and then you have open source models. And so I think that, with AI, the Rebel Alliance is going to rise from the open source models and the open source community. They're the ones that they create platforms like Comfy UI that you could download to your devices, download to your computer, and use them locally. So you're not tied to the internet. You're not tied. It's all inside. It's all local. The internet can go down, and you can still use these products. So I think that the open source community is going to be a big source of pushback from, the corporate takeover. And, the corporations, of course, the studios and corporations, their bottom line is the bottom line. And, if they can create content that sells without having to use all those pesky artists, they can get rid of all those pesky artists, that's going to be beneficial to them. So that's why, I've said many times, countless times, ever since I've been, you know, public with my use of AI. I've been saying all the time, don't let the studios replace you with AI. Replace the studios with AI. And by saying that, I mean, we're not trying to put them out of business, but we're like saying, hey, you as an artist or a group or a community of artists can create and create the way you want to do, but you use the artificial intelligence to do the stuff that the studio would do, the boring stuff, the accounting and the marketing and that's what you use the tools for, where you can focus on just being creative. So you gotta be creative with these tools and understanding it's not going away. And now here's the other thing that I think is a fantastic thing, and it's probably going to sound strange coming from me, is that I think the best thing that's going to come out of this AI revolution, or whatever you want to call it, is that a lot of people are going to start abandoning the devices, abandoning the technology. They're going to start going off grid. They're going to put down the pixels and pick up the paintbrushes. They're going to put down the digital and start loading film and shooting with film. And they're going to start leaning for authenticity. They're going to start listening to digital music and start listening to live music. That's going to be like, the thing. It's going to be like, it'll be a live music event, and they'll record the live music event and then sell the tapes of the live music event to the people so they can go back listening to music and knowing that this is coming from an authentic source and stuff. So, at the end of the day, it's all about balance, and I think that the human race is good about creating checks and balances with things. So there's a lot, to be afraid with AI, but fear never, fear doesn't solve the problem. Fear can steer you into a direction where the problem is solved. But yeah, don't be scared. Don't be scared of the big bad AI. The AI has more information than you do. But we as a human species, we have something called wisdom. And so, once we start to incorporate wisdom into what we do and how we use these tools, then, we'll see balance. We'll see balance. So anyway, I apologize if this was rambling, if it sounded all over the place, but this ain't my stick, man. I make this shit. I'm not in the stuff, man. So anyway, I'm back to the grind. I'm going to do my best to do a romantic scene where my character of Ben in Delusional meets his wife for the first time. And of course, I'm going to play both Ben and my wife. So I got my acting challenges cut out for me. So this episode might take a little bit longer to get to because I want to take my time with this one. And so anyway, okay, well, maybe this is becoming a thing. 2 a.m. chats about AI. All right, man, I'm out. I'll see you next time. Talk with you later.